Property Rights of Spouses Act, Part 4, Power of Court to make other orders. Section 23, Court may make other orders. Subsection 1, without prejudice to any other provisions of this Act, the Court may make any of the following orders. A. For the sale of property or part thereof, and for the division, vesting, or settling of the proceedings thereof. So the court can order that your house, the family home, or it could be your car, or other property be sold, and you divide up the proceeds from the sale among both spouses. B, well, remember, while I'm not an attorney, I can see some of the things that the court is able to do. But again, I'm inviting any attorney watching this video and seeing anything you see that need clarification to make contact and to clarify and assist in whatever way you can. All right. B, for the vesting of property owned by both spouses as tenants in common in such share as the court considers just. C, for the vesting of property or part thereof in either spouse. I looked up the meaning of vesting of property, and it says, in law, vesting is the point in time when the rights and interests arising from legal ownership of a property is acquired by some person. Vesting creates an immediately secure right of present or future deployment. One has vest right to an asset that cannot be taken away or by third party, even though one may not yet possess the asset. When the right, interest, or title to the present or future possession of a legal estate can be transmitted to any other party in terms of vested interest. The concept can arise in any number of contexts, but the most common are an inheritance law and retirement plan law. In real estate, to vest is to create an entitlement to a privilege or a right. For example, one may cross someone else's property regularly and unrestrictedly for several years, but one's right to an entitlement become vested. The original owner still remains the possession, but can no longer prevent the other party from crossing. So probably what this means is that with the husband and the wife, one of them, well, both of them have a vested interest in the property. So one spouse cannot lock the other spouse out of the property. That other spouse has the right to come in and sleep and live in there. That's probably what this is saying. It could be that one spouse is the owner, has long been the owner of the property. The other one visits very often. But the court says the owner can no longer prevent the other one from visiting and sleeping there just because they're no longer together. That probably is what it is saying. Alright. D. For postponing the vesting of any share or part thereof in the property, unless such future date contingent on such future happenings as may be specified in the order. For postponing the vesting of any share or part thereof in the property. So it could be, well, could it be here that vesting of share, that person who is given vested interest in the property is not yet given that interest until some future date, postponing the vesting of any share or part thereof in the property. Maybe the court could say, you are not allowed to stay there to start sleeping, or you don't yet have the right to go on the property until a certain time in the future. Could that be? Or to use the property until at some point in the future. E. For the partition or vesting of any property. This kind of sounds like where they live in the same house, but the court says the husband can only live in this side of the house and the wife in that side of the house. Partitioning of the property. Could that be? So it may be a case where they are now divorced, but they don't wish to sell the property. It's a large house, so each of them live in the house in separate parts of the house. That probably is the case. Kind of sound like it. F. For vesting property owned by one spouse in both spouses jointly or as tenants in common in such share as the court considers just. Property owned by one spouse. Oh, so something that one spouse owns. Could be a motor vehicle, could be a house, maybe a business, whatever it is. The court could say that your spouse, even though you are the owner, your spouse now has a right to use it as the court considers just. Vesting property owned by one spouse in both spouses jointly or as tenants in common. Right? G. For vesting property owned by both spouses, whether jointly or as common or as tenants in common, in one spouse. So for vesting property owned by both spouses in one spouse. So it could be that both of them own the house, but the court now says you have 40% share in the house and you have 60. Could that be the case? For H, for the cancellation of any settlement of a family home held in joint tenancy. Could it be to say you're trying to sell the property but as of now you cannot sell it. You're not allowed to sell the property. So stop advertising it. Could that be cancellation of any settlement of a family home? I, for the payment of a sum of money by one spouse to the other spouse. So the court has the power to order that one spouse pay the other a sum of money. I guess that's what they call alimony. J, for the transfer of land. K, for the transfer of shares, stocks, mortgages, charges, debentures, or other securities, or of the title to any other property. Now, debenture, from information I see online, it is an unsecured loan certificate issued by a company. So it's an unsecured loan. Even that, the court can order that it be transferred to the other spouse. L, for the transfer of rights or obligations under any instrument or contract, notwithstanding any term or condition contained in such instrument or contract. M, for varying the terms of any trust or settlement, not being a trust under a will or other testamentary disposition. So, varying the terms of any trust or settlement. Maybe some lawsuit, it could vary the terms of it. But it says here, not being a will. So, if one spouse's parent had wrote their will for that spouse to inherit, then the court would not be able to vary or change that will just because the spouses decide to divorce. N, for the vesting of property or part thereof in a relevant child. Okay. Subsection 2. Where the court makes an order directing one spouse to pay to the other spouse a sum of money, the court may direct that payment be by lump sum payment or by installments, and either with or without security, and otherwise in such manner and subject to such conditions as the court thinks fit. 3. The court may make an order granting to either spouse for such period and on such terms and conditions as it thinks fit the right to personally occupy the family home or any other premises forming part of the property belonging to either or both spouses. So the spouse can say, the court can say that you have the right to remain in that house even though your wife or your husband is trying to run you out of the house. Right. 4. The person in whose favor an order is made under subsection 3, that's the person who the court says now has the right to remain in the house, shall be entitled to the exclusion of the other spouse to personally occupy the family home or other premises to which the order relates. So, to the exclusion of the other spouse. It sounds probably like it's saying that the other spouse, one spouse has the right to occupy the home, but the other spouse does not. So it seems like the court has the power to remove one person from the home and order that the other person remains in the home. That probably is a case where there's an order of protection or something like that. 5. Notwithstanding Section 3, an order made under subsection 3 shall be enforceable against the legal personal representative of the spouse against whom it is made, unless the court otherwise direct. So notwithstanding Section 3, an order made under subsection 3, where the court says one person has the right to occupy the home, shall not be enforceable against the legal personal representative of the spouse. The legal personal representative of the spouse against whom it is made. Against whom it is made. That sounds, for example, like the spouse who did not want his or her spouse to go back into the house, against whom it is made, unless the court otherwise directs. Part 5, General, Section 24, Savings. The commencement of this act shall not affect A. Any legal proceeding in respect of property which has been instructed under any enactment before such commitment. Any legal proceeding in respect of the property which has been instructed under enactment before such commitment. Or B. Any remedy in respect of any such legal proceedings to enforce or establish a right, privilege, obligation, or liability acquired, occurred, or incurred before such commitment. So it's kind of sound like if there was some legal action taken before or before such commencement, I should say, not before such commitment. The commencement of this act shall not affect. Okay, the commencement of the act. Whenever the act commenced, the act was when? It commenced when? (2006). Any legal proceedings in respect of property which has been instituted under any enactment before such commencement. Oh, so it was implemented in 2006. If there was some legal proceeding before, the act would not go back in time to affect any such legal action. It can only go forward in time and not back. B. Any remedy in respect of any such legal proceedings to enforce or establish a right, privilege, obligation, or liability acquired, occurred, or incurred before such commencement. So if there was some commencement regarding the property that occurred before 2006, then this act would not be able to go back in time and affect that. And any such legal proceedings or remedy may be continued or enforced as if this act had not been brought into operation. So that is the Property Rights of Spouses Act.